Welcome back to What's Next? Living Longer, Better, Smarter. This time out, Memories Matter. This edition is made possible by Vivid-Pix.
Vivid-Pix is all about making it simple to relive your memories. This includes scanning or downloading photos and documents to create your family history, fast, easy, and affordable software to improve these images, and various education to help people do more. With Mary and Fred, we look forward to sharing with you on an ongoing basis many new ways to live longer, better, smarter, and not let your memories fade.
Thank you all for tuning in to join us. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Mary Furlong. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Fred. I think we have a really interesting story to tell today, and certainly we have the experts around the table to share that story.
We do. We'll be talking about our stories in words and in pictures and how they can be so important in the quality of our lives. First, joining us from LifeBio is Beth Sanders. Thank you so much for being here, Beth.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Mary, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, Beth, I feel such pride in your accomplishments. It's hard to believe how long you've been around with LifeBio. I remember when you were a finalist in our competition, which can't remember exactly the year, but it's 20 years old now. And you had this dream and vision about online systems helping people to create biographies. And everyone wants to share their life story. And now you're working with health plans, with senior living communities, with the government at the national and state level, and you're even using artificial intelligence. So you're one of the most successful women entrepreneurs I know. Tell us what LifeBio has been able to accomplish.
Well, LifeBio is focused on capturing life stories for better health. We got our start just thinking about the idea of how priceless each person is and how special and unique they are, right? And from that, we started capturing stories and then realizing there were actually health benefits as people shared those stories. So it has really been an evolution over a long, period of time, but we have learned a lot, and it's fascinating work for sure.
Beth, LifeBio Memory is designed to help anyone share life stories, as you said, even those who have cognitive or memory challenges. Step us through what the experience is like for your customers.
So the new version of LifeBio is an app that will voice record their story, and then artificial intelligence is processing that voice recording to create materials that are summarizing who that person is, so their story can be quickly understood in a healthcare setting. And it can also lead to them having a true legacy for themselves and for their family. When they use the Lifebound Memory app, it voice records and it prompts them with questions and even a photo prompt. As we were developing it, our focus groups included staff members in senior living, for example, family caregivers, and people living with dementia who gave us incredible feedback on what it does take to prompt that memory, help them get started. They gave feedback on exactly how even questions are worded and how to make it as simple as possible. So there's just a big button you press to record. And wait, I have one more thing I want to add. They can, keep hitting the button if they want to add more to their story. And they can even go to a certain topic. So they might be talking about childhood this minute, and they go, you know what, I want to share about my wedding experience or some experience I had in my work or in the military. And they can jump right to that topic and record with those questions in that topic.
How did you develop the questions, the techniques that would elicit these meaningful responses from people?
Well, this is what really evolved over time. And I have had, older adults tell me when we were actually missing questions. I can say early on, we didn't realize the power, for example, of friendship in people's lives, especially over time. And so that topic is a very, key part of this. The questions, even the way you ask them, they had to be kept simple. Tell me a story about some of your school experiences, but those questions can then go much deeper into, activities and interests in school, or some of the exciting experiences in school. So we're taking a topic and then building it out. Or just think about the topic of family, the parents and the grandparents and aunts and uncles in your life. People are so complicated. They have so much to say, and you have to serve up the questions that will help elicit what they would like to share about. So it's going to be a complete story.
So I see a triple bottom line here, because the healthcare professionals can look at the older adults in a different way, knowing their story. It personalizes it to know that they were a hero in the military, or that they had a family, or they were a leader in their world in some way. And also the family can get a book of these stories, right? And that's a treasure for a lifetime. And then the third area, Beth, the industry of people beginning to look at cognitive abilities and what you're learning that can be shared with the wider industry. So the narrative and the aggregate data are really important, because they could be used in training others in healthcare who are working with dementia patients.
You're so right. The training that can come from this, when you deeply know someone, it really changes the way you deliver care to them. And people are needing to be seen as a whole person. They need that positive sense of identity. They may be transitioning into more living in a different community, right? They went from home to a senior living community, and they need people to know who they are in order to deliver the best care. Then the latest with the clinical trial that's starting with Lifebound Memory is fascinating. We will be running cognitive tests at the beginning and the end with our research partner, leading this, and they're going to actually track how does the many mental scores change or stay the same, or whatever happens. We're going to measure quality of life and other factors too, as they share their stories. So the clinical trial is important, but the legacy matters too. So you're right. It's like the triple bottom line.
And I like when you talk about friendship, because if you ask the right question, the smile can come on their face. One of my friends told me last week, when you talk about your granddaughter, your eyes just light up. I think Fred's are the same when he talks about his granddaughter. So what was the inspiration for this, Beth?
The inspiration really began, I'm going to say, storytelling with my family was something I did even at the age of 10 with one of my grandparents taking me to visit relatives, and it was made clear we were going to record them. I have a little picture of me at age, I think 10, with her recording. Then I did a longer interview with my other grandma I think it was out of college, so in my early 20s. And I just remember thinking my grandma became a whole person. I can't not believe that I lived on the same street with this amazing woman and only saw her like as grandma. And like, she is this incredible person. And now, because I did this, almost like a wall came down between us. I was so connected to her for the rest of my life. It's like it opened this whole door. And I thought, here is my, average, ordinary grandma. And if I hadn't done this, I would never have known her like this. This is gold. And she had early stage dementia, but she could go way back and give me just incredible details about her own childhood and her family. And you could just see her light up as she shared. So I want people to have that experience of feeling closer and knowing that they got to say what they had to say. Because there's a lot of hope, peace, optimism, purpose that comes from passing that on to somebody. We chit chat a lot with our friends and family, okay? We really do. We talk about things that are very surface level. It's not that often that we go deep.
Amazing, Beth. What is it? What's the typical cost involved?
Well, it's $149 a year for the LifeBio Memory app, and it's $17.99 a month. There's just so much going on behind the scenes with processing the audio and the storage involved, because people literally will talk for hours and hours and hours on this because we've made it so easy. So it is a very affordable way, because people can go out there and spend thousands and thousands of dollars to do a custom bio. And here we have just the easiest engine possible. And when they want to create a book, it varies. It may be $200 to $400, depending on what they would like to do with any kind of finished book. Or some people are just happy to have the audio recorded of the people they love. In a community setting, there's group subscriptions for a hospice, a senior living, a home care agency to use it with lots of people. So that varies, but it's a very affordable way to get it done. And that's the key. We got to get it done. We need to, especially as people reach the end of their lives, they will be reminded of resilience in themselves. Nobody's led a perfect life. Nobody. And so there may be parts that they feel are kind of hard, but still, when you get a chance to talk through it, you may rethink it. Wow, that was a hard thing, but it led to this or this. So that's why we think that it can lower depression. It can increase satisfaction with life and happiness, because you kind of resolve things. One more example I'll give is I think she was 85 at the time. She said, "I'm reminded of all the love I've experienced in my life." Because when you talk about your parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles, that's what happens. You go, oh, so how good is that? Like, you reminded people of the love,
Oh, and what a time of year to remind people with Valentine's coming up. And also, it's not only Valentine's, it's Galentine's. If you remember the love in your life and what you felt, then you want to go out and share that love in the future. My friends say to me, "I want to be great at being a grandmother." I remember Gail Sheehy said that too. So Beth, you're a gift to the industry. So thank you so much, and amazing work you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me today.
There's more info at lifebio.org. You can find info there also about My Hello, which is focused on fighting loneliness and social engagement. Congratulations, Beth, on all the work you're doing.
Thank you again for having me.
Our next guests are using images in what is called photoreminiscence therapy to help improve the lives of people with dementia and those around them too. Josh Freitas is the Chief Research Officer at CERTUS Institute, part of CERTUS Senior Living. Thanks for visiting with us, Josh.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And also with us is Rick Voight, CEO of Vivid-Pix, photo researcher. Hi, Rick.
Hi, Fred. How are you? Mary, nice to see you.
Well, both of you were involved in a pilot study on the cognitive benefits of photoreminiscence therapy. And the National Institute for Dementia Education just this month recognized that project. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
So let's begin, Josh. What is photoreminiscence therapy, and how does it benefit older adults?
Photoreminiscent therapy is using photos as a modality to have a therapeutic output. In this case, it was using photos to help people with a cognitive decline, neurologically to improve cognition and improve conversation. So for us, reminiscence therapy is the use of photos to have a therapeutic outreach, but emotionally, and it can work for anybody with or without dementia. But in this case, the focal point was how do we improve quality of life and use photos as a modality to improve cognition, which we saw. So in a nutshell, photoreminiscence therapy is using photos as a therapeutic tool to spark creativity, conversation, and really revisit the past in a therapeutic way.
Rick, describe for us how this effort and this study came about.
So I've been in the photo business forever, and I have seen people's joy when they're reminiscing with photos. And my mother has a little bit of cognitive decline, and I've been doing photo reminiscence therapy with her for years, and not in such a professional way, but being able to draw out her thoughts and making her be a little bit more engaged. And I was able to meet Josh last year, and it just sparked, why don't we actually do this study in order to help a lot of people?
And of course, this is a global issue because memory loss happens around the world, and more people share things with photos. So what are some of the benefits that you found to the people in the study, and also the health professionals and the people in the senior housing communities?
Some of the benefits is improved cognition that sustains longer than the session itself. So for example, we had a number of residents that would have their session, and then they would go to their lunch table or to other staff members or residents and start telling them about their session and the student. But on the other side too, is we had this intergenerational outcome where we had students now asking questions about dementia, like, I didn't realize how much quality of life people have, how much they can remember, the pure joy, how to have a conversation. So it was a win-win for us that the residents now get to reminisce, create social engagement neurologically that improves quality of life. We saw people come out of their rooms more. In addition to that is the students now that are going into the field understand dementia, provide better care for the future. And one mission I think we all have through this project is breaking the misconception about dementia. A lot of people will say they can't learn, they can't do anything new, but that's completely false. It's just a different way of learning, a different way of living. And throughout this project, we noticed that something as small as a photo improves quality of life, and that people with dementia still have so much to contribute. Their stories are so rich, and they're so much more accurate than a lot of people think. We validated with family members, and they were surprised that their loved one remembered specific information or specific stories. And some of the information was very detail oriented. The biggest success for me was to see that the student was speaking about 80% of the time at the beginning of sessions, and towards the end, it was 80% of the residents speaking. So for that, it's just people need a little bit of a jog or support, and the power of a photo to show that photo and have somebody speak so much is powerful because we don't hear the stories of people with dementia as much. So the outcomes, we did see neurological improvement. We saw quality of life improvement, not just during the session, but after the session. And we also educated a future generation that will work with people with dementia.
Describe a little bit more about that for us, what the process was like of the actual therapy with these were students from where they came in and worked with the residents. Tell me about
Yeah, so these were all students that were in the healthcare field from different universities, different levels, from pre-doctorate to doctorate to social work. So they were all going into the field of healthcare. So we had all different levels. Throughout that process, we did educate the students, got them certified in dementia. So we had a lot of light bulbs go off. But throughout the process, we also learned that we know there's 100 different types of dementia. And most of the field focuses on Alzheimer's disease, which reminiscence therapy works really, really well. But our question was, what about frontal temporal dementia, vascular dementia, Lewy body, where hallucinations might be there, they have difficulty? Is we didn't treat everybody the same. We had a unique nuance where I could actually look at the medical files, I could see everything. And we actually noticed trends based on the different types of dementia. So for us, we can actually say frontal temporal dementia likes these type of conversations. Alzheimer's disease likes these kind of conversations. And already we're making better business decisions off of this that helps residents. One example is with dementia and memory care, everybody asks to go home. They say, I want to go home, I want to go home. We noticed that they really like talking about their homestead and their upbringing. What we've done in our communities in a few places is we actually put a photo of their house on their door. And inside the room, they have their own furniture. So when they ask to go home, we bring them to the door, show them the picture of their house. They walk in and they feel like they're home. So now we just alleviated that stress, anxiety, where am I, what am I doing, is we've actually created a feeling of home. And that all sparks with a photo. We show them, we bring them right to the room. show them a picture of their house, they tell you about it. You open the door, they see their favorite recliner, and they can go right in and feel at home. So they're not stressed and trying to get home.
Josh, that makes me feel so happy. And that's such an easy way that people could adopt that, right? That's such a great idea. That gives me a feeling of great joy.
And it's just the beginning. Like I was telling Rick a little earlier, we're going to talk about it, is there's so many offshoots for more pilot studies to see where this can go. But even we did it 2 or 3 times now with great success. And I was just seeing if there's anything to research. We've been taking 3 photos that they really like, putting them at their table at meal times. And we're noticing it creates normalcy. They show the photos to their friends. They start socializing. You see no signs of dementia. And then all of a sudden they start eating because they're cognitively have this boost of conversation and they feel supported. They don't feel like, I'm not sure what to do. They feel comfortable. They perform better. So something as small as just putting a few photos at a meal table could improve it. And one thing we did study, we need more data on, is medicine compliance. Memory care across the nation, we see a tremendous amount of Baker acting where police come out and not know how to work with them, or that they get sent out to the hospital, or it escalates and the quality of life isn't good. We've noticed if you give a nurse photos, have them sit down side by side with that resident before giving the medicine, show 2-3 photos, they are almost 50% more likely, and in some cases more or less, to take that medicine to help them be more medicine compliant. So now we took that medical model, made it a social model that now helps the resident, but also if we gave that to every nursing program in the country, how to use reminiscent therapy to help improve medicine compliance, we could really improve quality of life for millions of people across our country in memory care.
So where this goes from here, more studies? You're going to get back
more
into this?
studies. Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to seek more funding and more things to really dig down to a full-fledged study, bring in a pilot, an IRB group to help us with that research, and do more publications. I think one thing, and I think Rick and I are on the same page on this, is publish as we go. So even though we don't have that full-fledged 500 people study, we're publishing as we go so that people are on the journey with us and people can start tweaking and seeing the progress. And one thing I have to say with memory care is nothing is consistent. So we noticed this in this project. We thought we had this framework. Before we knew it, we had to change the platform we had to change how we did certain things, the recording, the sessions, where they were, who was there. These things are always changing and evolving. So for us, we want to document that process and share with people so they can start changing how they do stuff as we get research out there.
And this sounds like it could be valuable for people at home. Rick, you mentioned your mom, but this is, I guess people have been doing this forever. You sit on the sofa, you take out the photo album. I mean, that's in essence what you're doing, and how it helps older adults, I guess a lot of people may not realize.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously there are millions of unpaid caregivers, and these are just people that either a neighbor or a loved one, whether it be a spouse or a child, are engaging with people with cognitive decline. And so the ability to be able to bring forth these stories by sharing a photograph and having things to talk about, as opposed to oftentimes struggling in order to say, what are we going to talk about today? How are we going to spend time together today? Because I love spending time with you. And now the photograph can be that modality to bring those people together. And also for services where people come to people's homes in order to engage and entertain. And now by being able to have photograph as that mode of conversation can help many different people in many different ways.
I also think, so there's a benefit in home care, there's a benefit in senior housing. And I love the notion that we're bringing them home and that the conversations are there. And this may be where our 2 podcasts come together, Fred, because in our Longevity Deal Talk podcast, the government through NIA is funding research like this. So maybe watch our Longevity Deal Talk podcast this week that we taped earlier this week, because it's exciting to see that research groups are getting supported for this kind of work. So congratulations, great work.
And Rick, we've spoken before about how Vivid-Pix software restores photos. And we thought maybe we could take some photos appropriate for Valentine's Day to make the point.
Yeah, so I do have a couple of fun ones here. So let me share my screen. So Fred, this is one that you sent over, and looks like an old sepia photograph. So tell us about us if you could.
Well, these are my grandparents on my father's side who emigrated to the United States from Russia about the turn of the 20th century, I suppose. And I never knew them looking like this. And coming across this old photo really brought back not my memories of them, but made me realize, boy, they were young ones too. And you never think of them that way.
And that is one of the most fun things about engaging families with their photographs is kids, particularly. They don't think about grandma, grandpa as being young. And now you're able to actually share these wonderful memories and bring forth those stories so that the family gets to know each other a little bit better. So the second photograph here is also one of yours, Fred.
Fred, I love this.
Well, this may not have been Valentine's Day, I don't think, because I'm wearing short sleeves in New Jersey, but she's my Valentine, and we're together 50 years, and this was somewhere early along the way.
It's a wonderful photograph, a wonderful memory, and obviously photographs tend to shift in color, and this is a perfect example where the reds have become more prominent in the before picture on the left and on the picture on the right, bringing that color balance back. And the last one is one of mine. So this photo I thought was kind of a nuance on Valentine's Day. So my wife and I will be celebrating 37 years of marriage today, or this year. And we think about it a little bit of yin and yang. So if you're with someone for a long time, sometimes you might see things a little bit differently. And obviously with the improvement of improving the sharpening and the flesh tones a little bit. So thought I'd share a little bit of Valentine's Day fun, and wishing you all a very happy Valentine's Day coming up.
Well, Rick and Josh, thank you again for spending time with us and for all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Mary, really some great work being done by Beth at LifeBio and by Josh and Rick with photo reminiscence therapy.
The benefits are so clear from what they're doing for older adults, but also for the staff, and also helping us to understand how to navigate this disease of dementia and the different elements of it.
Meanwhile, there are signs that the pandemic may be waning. Fingers crossed. The Olympic Games certainly aren't normal with families back home. Tugs at your heart, really, having to watch the athletes on TV, but some great accomplishments, including Nathan Chen.
Yes, wasn't that wonderful?
Absolutely. At the same time, though, we saw another report this week about the difficulties senior care facilities have been facing. Just a month ago, nearly 69,000 nursing home workers tested positive for Omicron, 10 times higher than in December.
Yeah, it's a real crisis, and staffing is a big challenge in every industry, but more so in skilled nursing and senior care. So we hope that we can see some improvements. And I think there are some resources from ARP that are tracking this issue as well.
We'll continue following the story. We want to thank our guests, Beth, Rick, and Josh, for spending time with us, and our sponsor, Vivid-Pix. And we always appreciate all of you taking the time to watch or listen. A reminder that there's also that new What's Next longevity deal talk Mary talked about. You can find it and this podcast at maryfurlong.com/podcast.